Jim, it's good to have you with us. We're going to hear from Jim Keenan. As most of you know, Jim was a successful insurance broker here in Marin for many years and retired over to the Big Island about 20 years ago now, I guess, Jim. So why don't we turn it over to you, and you can tell us what you've been up to this last 20 years.
You got it. Okay, well, there's my raw material, and
Wow.
I'm back in California. We both kids live in Davis, and yeah, that wasn't my town. So we found a spot outside of Woodland. And I have no idea why I need 26 acres, but that's what we have. And this is the stuff I work with. Let me see if I can get this. Are we in full screen mode right now?
Yes.
We are,
Okay.
yeah.
Let me see if I can do something here. Is that better?
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
Okay. So that's my raw material.
What kind of wood is it, Jim?
All kinds of wood.
Okay.
I have a tree guy that I guess I'm going to have to do it this way. I have a tree guy that just drops off stuff for me. I got my start in Hawaii. We went over there. I did a lot of fishing for marlin and tuna and stuff. And in the back of my mind, I had a lure that I had wanted to make. And I scraped enough wood off to actually make a blank that I could then make a mold. And the lure worked actually fairly well. Caught a lot of fish on it. But in the meantime, my neighbor gave me a chunk of Hawaiian wood, and the next thing I knew, I had a lathe coming over from Honolulu. And here we are now. So this is my shop.
Wow.
My shop, everything is hung up and the floors are swept and everything. It's my shop. When it's not hung up and the floors aren't clean, it's my studio, and most of the time it's a studio. When working with wood, sometimes the wood speaks for itself. Sometimes it doesn't, so you have to embellish it a little, and this is where I do all the embellishment. I have more damn Dremels than I know what to do with, and I use dentist drills and hair brushes and stuff. So that's my other place that I work. And here I am in my at the lathe in my armor. You can see I'm a tool freak.
Yeah, look at all those tools. Wow.
Yeah, I am. This is some of the stuff that I
Oh
made.
my goodness.
This is a chunk of Blackheart mango, and the bowls that were all cut from that one chunk by using a curved blade. In learning how to do this, let's just say I made more than a few funnels. In any event, the texture of the wood goes through each bowl. So when you line them all up, it looks like it came out of the same block of wood. All the grains line up.
Wow.
This is a cork oak natural edge. You can turn that sideways either way. You'll see the tree is growing. This would be the top of the tree here, and this would be the bottom of the tree. And what you have is a shadow that's spinning around because you're no longer dealing with something that's round. And so you kind of have to turn it, and it gets a little hairy sometimes because that's spinning at about 1200 RPM.
Wow.
Wow.
And your hands are right up next to it.
Yeah.
You got to be a little careful.
Oh my
Another
goodness.
natural edge bowl and the wood itself wasn't very pretty. It didn't have much character, so we did a little dye with airbrushing to kind of spruce it up a little bit.
Beautiful.
What do you use to finish them with to give them the shine?
It depends on the wood.
Okay.
I think that one was actually coats and coats and coats of lacquer sealer, sanding sealer, and then you just start sanding in between coats and keep adding until it looks right. So that's what we did. Lots of handwork here. I mentioned that sometimes the wood speaks for itself.
Oh,
This is a piece of Norfolk Island pine. And
Beautiful.
normally you rough out a piece of wood when they're green, because as they dry, they're going to no longer be round. They're going to be oblong or misshapen. And what you do is you just kind of rough out the outside and then start auging out some of the inside to get the stresses off of the wood so the wood doesn't crack. And I turn it off, the lathe off on a regular basis to see what it looks like. And Shazam, I looked like it was a dragonfly inside of that piece of wood.
Yeah.
So instead of shaping the outside first, I shaped the inside first and then shaped the outside to match the inside.
Wow, that's beautiful.
it is.
That is gorgeous.
Amazing.
And this one is a wing and a
Oh,
prayer,
my
also
gosh.
with Norfolk Island pine. You notice you can see through it.
Yeah.
And, very, very thin. The wings are self-explanatory. The prayer was I still had fingers left when it was all done, because that thing is spinning around.
Hey, Jim, how long do you let the wood age?
It depends on the wood. Some woods will not, they're so unstable that you have to take them down to maybe 1/8 of an inch all the way around, or you're going to end up throwing it away. So if you get all the stresses out of the wood, you have something, it'll end up being misshapen, but sometimes you want it to do what it's going to do because it gives it character.
Yeah.
This is another piece of mango.
Oh, my God.
And then just using pyrographic pens, put the flowers on it.
Yeah.
Did you do the artwork on that, Jim?
Yeah, I do all of it.
Stunning, really is.
And this is Pua Alo Alo.
Oh,
In Hawaii, Pua means flower, and Alo Alo is a hibiscus. So again, Norfolk pine. You notice this black stuff and the red stuff, and that, when you look at a piece of Norfolk pine, it's not a true pine. It just looks like it. The wood is just very plain, and there's not much to it. But if you put it in a bag, a plastic bag, and let it sit for several weeks and check it every once in a while, the fungus actually starts attacking the wood. And when you think it's right, you take it out and go ahead and turn it. And when you dip it in an oil, in this, I use oil, polyurethane, and thinner all mixed together. And I actually soak it in a vat several days so that the finish goes all the way through the wood. And when it does that, you get different colors, including the black. And this, you don't know what you have until you take it out of the oil.
Huh.
And you let that cure and dry, and you buff it out, and then you dunk it again, and let it dry and buff it out. There might be 5 or 6 processes. And then we're a done deal. This is all just hand painted with acrylics after it was all done.
Just beautiful.
Thank you. There's another, this is Milo,
My goodness.
another Hawaiian wood in a calabash form. Calabash, the Polynesians use gourds for their eating utensils, storage utensils, drinking utensils. They just take a gourd, let it dry, cut the top off, and take out the seeds, and that was their dinner table. In Hawaii, the Hawaiians developed the wooden calabash form, and it could only be owned by a li'i. And it became the royal treasury for the wooden bowl. If a commoner was caught with a wooden bowl, the penalty was death.
Wow.
Kapu.
Goodness.
Needless to say, they sell a lot of bowls now in Hawaii, and you don't get killed over it. This is a piece of
Oh.
Australian
Oh.
cedar,
Oh, that is-
almost extinct in Australia, and yet they grow like crazy in Hawaii.
Mm.
The inlays that you see is black palm, and you cut in a design for the turtles, and then you put the turtles in and sand flush, and the rest was just kind of decorating with different tools.
Are the rings that you see there, both at the top rim and the bottom third, is that also inlay?
That's a chat. I just used a chatter tool,
Okay.
and
all
it's a piece of steel with a sharp point on it, and it vibrates, and in so doing, it creates that pattern.
Mm.
So what I would do is create, using a very thin tool, this line, and then I would chatter what was left, and I'd do the same here.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Yeah, they look absolutely beautiful. I'm curious, Jim. The bowl formation, the woodworking is one thing. What is it in your background where does this artistic part?
It's called luck. It truly is.
Really?
After that, while that lathe was coming across the ocean on a barge from Honolulu, there was a little thing in the West Hawaii News that says they're forming a wood turning club on the west side of the Big Island. I heard, well, I'm going to check that out. And it turns out that the 5 guys that were forming this club made their livings turning. And to this day, I've never had an art lesson, but I know what I like. And apparently that works. Because I was in about 6 or 7 galleries on the Big Island.
It definitely worked.
Excuse me.
Definitely worked.
And I was actually on one in Maui. You may not believe this, but it was owned by the son of one of our classmates, Danny Unterman's son.
Oh.
Oh, my
Really?
goodness.
The problem I had was he had a manager, and he just didn't seem to communicate well. And because it was on Maui, I had to get on an airplane to go find out what's going on. And I figured, it just isn't going to work. And I wish it did, because that would have been kind of neat to have one of my classmates
Yeah.
kind of connected to this stuff.
Kent.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. That was Kent Unterman, right? The
Ken
son?
Unterman.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was Dennis Unterman.
Denny
Well,
Unterman.
this was our class.
Denny Unterman. Yeah, he was in
Yeah.
our class. I think Kent was in the year before, or the year after.
Kent was his son, I think.
No, Kent was his brother, I think.
Oh, I thought it was Tom.
Oh, Richard was.
Oh,
his
he could have
brother.
named him Kent. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in any event, it was an Unterman who owned the gallery.
Son, yeah.
I don't think he was that active in it. I think he just did it because he enjoyed art.
Do you
All
still
those
have your
tools that you
things?
saw in that workshop actually came from my ability to sell these things. And it was fun. I don't know how else to describe it. It was just stuff that was going to go to a landfill that you could do something with.
So are you going to show this at anywhere or any galleries?
No, I don't. I don't turn for sale anymore.
Yeah.
I pretty much either ends up going to charity or given away as gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, though. Geez.
Really beautiful.
We're kindred souls, Jim.
This is kind of an interesting piece.
Oh, my
Yeah, I
goodness.
was looking.
It's called Fractal Burning, and it's actually kind of dangerous. You use a transformer out of a neon sign. That sucker puts out 50,000 volts,
Oh,
but very little amperage. So I have 2 pairs of very thick rubber gloves on, and what you do is you paint a line with a salt or a basic, and then you put the anode on one side and the diode on the other, or whatever they call it, and you turn on the switch and it's going to just do its thing. So I would make lines. Can you see this arrow?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what I do is paint down just a thing with, I think this was borax in water.
Hmm.
And then I would make that black line, the heavy line, and then I'd go to the next one and make another, just paint it freehand with a small paintbrush until it started to take the shape of a tree. And then I would paint the whole thing and put the diode and the anode in different places, and it's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. It sparkles and snaps and crackles, and it's almost scary, and it made a tree.
Wow.
And that was all done with just a couple of wires.
That's
And
really,
that's Norfolk pine. I mentioned that until you put the oil on it, it's kind of a plain wood. That's Norfolk pine without the oil.
wonderful.
A nice drawing too,
Yeah.
I think.
Jim,
Thank you.
were
It was fun to do. It was a little scary because there's a couple of guys that have died doing it.
Yeah.
Let's just say you don't want it to run across your heart
Yeah.
from one side to the other. So you have to be very, very careful. Sometimes you have to have fun.
Wow.
Oh.
So this was fun. The club I belonged to, actually, I was president for a couple of years. We were given challenges is the word we used. It said make a toy. So I made a toy, and that's what we came up with.
Oh.
Very good.
And I couldn't get rid of it. It's still on my shelf.
Is that
I
burl?
couldn't sell it.
Is that a burl wood?
This this is all mango.
Okay.
This is the fruit. I'll get to it. This is monkey pod. This is I think walnut. This is actually brass, and this is brass here.
What about the coal car in back?
Well, that's actually Kona coffee, believe it or not.
Say it again.
Came right out of my backyard.
Oh, my goodness.
Huh?
That's great.
And that was another challenge, make something in miniature.
That's nice that you have the coins so you can get a
Yeah,
real
I had
idea
to,
of what the
otherwise it was
size
just,
is.
it was just something.
Yeah.
Wow,
This is one of the larger sales.
that's beautiful.
Hokulea is sort of like the North Star to the people that lived in the Northern Hemispheres. This is how they used to trans themselves across the Pacific. It was their radar, if you would. This right here is wenge, which is an exotic wood. And those little dots, which are actually in the shape of the constellation, are silver wire.
Oh.
And then the outline here around the abalone is ebony, and then that's mother of pearl, which I call, or abalone, which I call mother of pearl, and that's turquoise.
Wonderful.
That was that one bought a saw. This is a wood that was very plain. It was Oma. And so when you embellish it, this is what you end up with. And
That is gorgeous.
turned very thin, and then used a dentist drill
This
to
stuff.
cut it out.
I'm a-
And burned it and then colored it.
Beautiful.
Did you color it with acrylics?
Colored that with eyes and acrylic,
Okay.
and then went back with a pyrographic pen and kind of created the detail.
Uh-huh.
So what was your thought process when you're creating this lace pattern? What was going on in your mind? I mean,
Well, the first thing I did was, again, I don't draw a thing out. I can't do it. I mean, I just make it round first
right.
and then figure out, all right, what am I going to do? And it was very plain. I'm going, well, let's mess around with the shape. So I took a pencil and kind of drew what the edge is going to look like. And then I drew some sand on the bottom. This is the actual wood itself. And I said, well, let's see, let's put a couple of honus in there. That's turtle in Hawaii, and some grass growing and whatever else you could think of. And then I figured, all right, let's make some space in between. And it just started with the dentist drill, cutting the stuff out. And that's how it ended up. And again, there was nothing going in. I didn't know where I was going when I started.
Hey, Jim.
And I really didn't know where I was going until I ended.
Jim, that's the creative process. That's what I call my whimsical side.
We're getting to the whimsy here pretty quick.
I think they're already there. They're beautiful pieces.
Okay, thank you very much. And this one was a big seller. That was over the rainbow.
Oh my.
I call
Wow.
that a ribbon bowl. And again, you have to get it very thin. And then the rest was airbrushing and dentist drill.
How many
And-
hours in that one?
Oh, you don't want to know. You really don't want to know. It was a long time. And when you get it this thin, you have no room for error, none. Remember, that thing is spinning at a very fast rate. 1,200, 1,300 revolutions a minute. And you got to get your hand in there and sand it and do all that stuff.
Have you ever submitted your work to any exhibits or shows?
I've actually let me get down to the one that ended up in a national magazine. Be there in a minute. This is another ribbon bowl.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And this is Hawaiian koa. And sometimes I just draw something on it that was Hawaiian and then mess around with it. I can, on this is what we call pevas. In Hawaiian, that means fishtail. And you'll notice there's a big crack here. So to hold the crack together, I make inlay there, and I made another inlay down below. And that allowed the bowl to stay in one piece. And this one is what we call a box. You actually have a lid and you put stuff in there.
Oh, my goodness.
And that was a piece of mahogany just somebody gave me. That was all done with a Dremel and then filled with epoxy and color, and then turned and sanded back to the surface. And this is mango and mother of pearl.
Oh, wow.
And here we get to the whimsical stuff. This one made it to the national magazines.
Oh.
And we're all of the right age to be able to name that tune. Can anybody guess?
Purple people eater.
You got it.
Oh.
Now you're gonna, the problem here is you're gonna remember that all day long and you're gonna be mad at me. It's just gonna be in your mind all day long, right? So that's a purple people eater along with some mako shark teeth. Used a lot of those.
What you smoking, Tom?
Oh, that's a
Jim?
foot. You just ate a person.
Oh, okay.
Lauren.
Purple people here.
Okay.
And that ended up in Wood Turning Design magazine. Now, I would really be proud of that, except the magazine went bankrupt 2 years later. And I started off putting legs and stuff, and I said, purple people eater doesn't have legs; they have to have just feet to grab people. So that's where I came.
Right.
Yeah.
How big is that?
That's about 8 or 9 inches tall.
Wow, that's a serious.
yeah. Did you make more than one?
Not of the purple people eater, no. But I've made dragonflies,
Oh, my gosh.
Look at
and then we have what's for dinner, and we have Meet Mrs. Grinch.
Oh.
Oh.
to hang on your Christmas tree.
Okay. Hands.
And then, of course, we have, do I have to say what they are?
No.
Nut bolts, right?
Yeah.
Shaped like a nut. Yep.
Oh my gosh, I just got it. How slow am I?
And we have, whoop, I'm not there yet. We have Beam Me Up Scotty. That's also a box.
Oh, gosh.
This was kind of fun because that's epoxy that you see the little windows. I turned them really, really thin, and I found this light that with battery operated light you put in there, and it just spun. So it looked like these dots were, as it spun, it lit up each of those dots like it was a flying saucer in the sky.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So creative.
And about 65 million years ago, an asteroid hit the Earth, wiped out the dinosaurs. So, and I really wasn't drinking when I thought this up. I mean, I was sober. And I figured, what the hell would happen if that asteroid had missed? So this is my 20th century dinosaur.
Cool.
And he's a little overweight and has to wear glasses. And he's reading and this is what the newspaper said.
Wow.
Very good.
And then I have 4 grandkids, and what better gift to give a grandchild than a box of ants?
Oh,
So they each got a box of ants. I kept one for myself.
How cool.
That is so neat.
yeah.
Each one had a chainsaw.
Gosh.
Wow.
Great.
My goodness.
This is Farmer McKeenan,
Oh.
and I suspect in an earlier life, probably a plumber.
Mhm.
Wow.
Having a butt crack.
Yeah.
And then we have the other rabbit,
Oh, gosh. Look at those.
or the frog,
Yeah.
ribbit, and
Ribbit.
this one. Yeah, I did.
These are
Take me to your leader,
Think what you.
amazing.
other box.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Now, this is a I mentioned that you had to be a king or a queen or a governor or something to own wooden bowls. When a child was born, they cut down a tree to create calabash, a small calabash that was to be used for their lifetime. And it was given to that child in a weaning ceremony. When I had small pieces of Milo, which that is, or similar words, or co, I'd make those, you could turn them almost, maybe 25, 30 minutes at a time. And as long as you put this little description in the bowl, they sold like crazy, just like,
Oh.
because everybody gave them a new parent.
Who called?
And I've made a bunch of them for my relatives and friends that have had children. And I hope it's a keepsake for them.
Oh, wonderful.
You on the phone?
You mentioned
Oh, I see.
I was a member of the Kona Coffee Farmers. And they asked me, they had me making sandwich boards and stuff. They said, listen, we want some donkeys to pull in a parade, and we could put a 8 or 10-year-old girl in front. And could you cut some heads out of plywood and put some captures on the bottom? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. But do you want a couple of donkeys? So there's the donkeys.
Oh, God.
And if you happen to be in a parade, visiting a parade on the Big Island in a coffee festival, You see them going down the street. My name's written on the bottom.
How cool.
What size or how big are those?
How big are those? They're about 3.5, 4 feet tall.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good size.
Nice paint job and,
Thank
cool
you.
detail.
Beautiful.
And that, I couldn't pass up. That really is the blue water that we lived on for a while. Kahiko Ma'alo Ana Makani means ancient passing wind. And if you take that one step further, it really means old fart. And what happened is that I put this ice box or ice chest on the back, which I had way too many vowels to put it on the stern and fit. So I ended up changing the name to the Shazam. But it started out as Old Fart.
Cool.
And I couldn't pass up showing you the
Mm,
sunset from Marlin
wow.
Beautiful.
That gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
exquisite.
Just beautiful.
So that's my stuff.
That's great, Jim. Jim,
Wonderful.
Beautiful work.
Oh, so interesting.
Beautiful.
yeah, that was really great.
You're
Jim,
so
where
talented.
did you say you're living in Woodland now?
I'm living 2 miles west of Woodland,
Okay.
off of Highway 16 and Road 96.
And that first slide that we saw with the John Deere tractor and the wood.
That's where we are now. Yes.
It is. So that was your tractor then.
Yes.
Good. Great.
You can't get old without a tractor.
Got that right.
Yeah, this was fun to go through. Really appreciate you taking the time to go through it, Jim. That's really good.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I do.
Thank you.
I have fun.
Outstanding.
Was
Have
a
fun seeing some faces that I haven't seen for a long time. Last
For
time
sure.
I saw Milt in an office building, 1299 4th Street, San Rafael. We ran into each other in the hallway. You don't remember that, I bet.
Will your presentation be on our class
I have no idea.
channel?
I don't know.
That's the plan, is that what I'll do is I'll break them up and put each one
Perfect.
in its own YouTube, and maybe have those ready in about a week. And then I'll send everybody a email with all the links so you can watch any or all that we have in our collection.
Fantastic.
That is
Which
so
will be about,
great.
there should be about 10.
That's great. And
Can I just interject a really huge thank you to Phil for organizing everything, making it all possible, and
absolutely.
being there to help us put it together. It's been incredible. And as much as we couldn't have our reunion, we have learned more about each other and will continue to in this way too. So I just want to say a huge thank you, Phil. So
Thank you,
You're
Phil.
welcome. You're welcome.
I'm sure.
It's
I've
nice having
enjoyed-
someone who knows what he's doing.
yeah.
How do I give this back to you, Phil?
I took it back.
So we're still seeing the truck. Is it,
Yeah,
but
we're still
are we
seeing it.
back on now?
No, I'm still
Yeah.
seeing the tractor.
Yeah,
Jim, you
just
better check your goals, see if you're missing any.
up at the top, click the little red that says stop the share.
Ah, okay. You have to remember, I'm Irish. Okay.
Is that the little X above it? There it is.
You got it.
Yay.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Now that's
Hi, Diane.
Donald Duck, and I don't know, I've never met Donald Duck before. So who is Donald Duck?
Oh, surprise, surprise. It's Diane.
Diane Duck?
Diane Hilliard Duck.
Aha, okay.
My son thought I didn't need to have my name on this iPad, so he gave me Donald Duck. And I thought I had changed it. I found where you can change it. It looked like I deleted it, but it didn't go away.
No,
So
Well,
hello.
I want to thank Sue Ann again and Tom and Jim. Thank you guys very much for putting those
You're most welcome.
presentations together. That's fun.